Okay, so I got a couple of requests from some viewers saying that when you get the transmissions in and you can you make a short video on common problems of that particular transmission? So I said, sure, no problem. So I have here now, out of a 2010 Chevy Malibu, a 6T40, and this has your typical problem, which is the most common problem of no reverse, no third, and no fifth. So I have the, this is due to a 3.5 reverse wave steel that breaks up. All right, and when that breaks up, it takes the snap ring out, usually takes the hub out. This time it took the one of the planetaries out, got some broken gears. This is a little more worse than normal, but I have all the parts here that it affected and that I'm going to change. But I'm going to get a little closer, show you guys. I have the new 3.5 reverse 4.56 clutch drum, and there's a certain way to put this together that I just want to show you guys how to do that. And I think that's about it. So I'm going to do a quick video on this, and I also have a small seal that goes in a pump that I've had some converter codes with. Not very often, honestly, but I did have it a few times because I make it a point to change the seal every time I have the transmission out. But the most common problem is the no reverse, no third, and no fifth. That is like the #1 issue. The last I did one of these about 2 weeks ago, same problem, and prior to that, I probably did about 3 of these in the last maybe 6 weeks, all with the same issue of a broken wave steel. And actually 2 of them were 2010 Chevy Malibus. I don't remember what the other car was. I think it was might have been like a Buick Regal or something. But I'm going to get a little closer and we'll just go through this real quick. And as I get the transmissions in, I will certainly try to do a short video on common issues and maybe even some updates that I do during the rebuild. So I have coming out, I just got towed in yesterday, I think it's an 07, Hummer H3 4L60E. So that's going to be coming out, and I'm going to try to do something with that, with some common problems with that as well. All right, so it's certainly something I'm going to try to do each different transmission I get on the bench here. So let me get a little closer, and we'll go through this real quick. I'll show you the broken stuff, what's up to the snap ring, the new parts, and how to just assemble this drum. You don't want to put the snap ring in to hold the pistons in right away, because then you'll never get the snap ring in for the hold the clutches in. So let me go a little closer, and we will go through this very quickly. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention before was this is a 6T40, and the same thing would be common on the 6T70 as well. Okay, so here is the 3.5, what is left of the 3.5 reverse wave steel. Okay, this is the initial thing that breaks up. Here is what's left of the snap ring. All right, I saved as many pieces as I could, but it was all over the place here. Okay, a lot of times it normally takes this hub out because this hub sits over the clutch pack, the 3.5 reverse clutch pack, but it looks like some pieces of the snap ring got into the gears and it cracked the gears. But this hub normally would have to be changed as well. Here is the drum that I changed because it gets where the snap ring breaks up. It kind of gets screwed up here, but I would certainly not use this drum over again. And this back here, you see we got a broken bearing in there and broken gears as well. These parts are available, new aftermarket. There is a ring gear on top of this that you would have to get a snap ring out, a little tricky, and take the ring gear off. But I clamped it in a vise here, where these teeth are, and then I worked the snap ring around with a screwdriver and popped it out. Okay, also the center support, the snap ring damaged where it sits up in this area. Again, this isn't really normal, you know, every once in a while I gotta change the center support, but the snap ring that holds the piston and return spring in sits up here, and it got a little damage. I'm afraid if this clutch applies that this snap ring is gonna pop out. So, you know, new aftermarket, it's not that bad. So I'm electing to change it because I don't want to have any issues here. This one actually is a new wholesale account that I got, and this is one of the first jobs that they sent me. Okay, so again, 3.5 wave steel. Here is the new 3.5 wave steel. I'm pretty sure this has been improved. It's probably more durable for it to not break up. All right, so here is the drum. Here is the 3.5 piston. The return spring is in there, and here is the what holds the piston. All right, so this has to be pressed down, and this snap ring, okay, gets put in, and you got to line this tab up with the groove here, but don't push down too far because you don't want to break that tab off. Okay, so this snap ring is going to go in here, but not yet, because it's going to push everything up. So the first thing you'll do, okay, here's the 3.5 reverse that'll go on the bottom, and then you alternate with the steel and clutches. Sometimes that bottom steel gets screwed up. That may have to be changed. This one was okay. Okay, and all right, so now that's loaded up. So now what we're going to do is put this snap ring in. Because once you put the bottom snap ring in to hold the piston in, I'll just show you in a second here. So we'll put the snap ring in. You gotta make sure you load the drum this way. Okay, so now when you load the snap ring in, this is gonna lift up, and there's a recess in the pressure plate where it's gonna sit inside. The snap ring will sit inside the pressure plate. You'll never get it on. So once this is loaded up, you can turn this over, put this in your press or however you do it. Press it down, and then put this snap ring in, and then the drum would be assembled. All right, so that is probably the most common, the number one problem with this unit is the 3.5 reverse wave steel breaks up, and it, you know, takes the drum out. Usually the hub. You gotta put the snap ring in. So that is the number one common problem, and also again it goes for the 6T70 as well. All right, so one other thing that I see from time to time, it's not very common, but I've seen it, and I make it a point to make sure the seal gets changed. And by the way, these pumps are available as a whole, and I really don't think they're that expensive. Okay, so the seal in here, I always change the seal in here. The seal's on the input shaft for the torque converter. Okay, I have the old one. I knocked it out. I try to knock it out and kind of save it as best I can. All right, so when it's on here on the input shaft, there really is no drag at all. It's just on and off, on and off. You know, the seal seems flat, which would cause converter slip code like a 741. I've seen it a few times. So I always like to change this seal. You know, sometimes it's accompanied by other codes. And sometimes it was by itself. I think one time I seen it by itself. The check engine light was on and that was the only code. And other times when maybe I had like a pressure solenoid B stuck off code or something to that effect, There was also a 741 in there too, and the seal again tends to flatten out. But again, I've seen it, but it's not to the point where it happens on every one of them. But I've seen it a few times, and I just like to make it a point to change that seal. So if you have the unit apart, you know, I would definitely put a seal in that. And that is on the pump for the torque converter. Okay, so I guess that's about it on common issues on the 1640. Again, this is a 2010 Chevy Malibu. So I will try to do these videos whenever I got these transmissions on the bench of common problems, and also what I do as far as upgrades as well. Sometimes there'll be an upgrade, there'll be a common problem, and you can do an upgrade to try to avoid that common problem from happening. All right, so I thank you guys for watching. You know what? There's actually one more that I wanted to mention. I have not seen this yet, but I was on my tech service website, and they had a bulletin on this, but I haven't seen it yet, and I do a lot of these units. There is a bushing in here, okay, and the bushing, they're saying, tends to wear out, and you will get a left side axle seal leak, or on the driver's side. So there is a company called Superior Transmissions that has made a special bushing, maybe it's Teflon coated or something, a special bushing along with the tooling to use and knock in the bushing. I think it might be due to lack of lube is what they were saying. But again, according to ATSG, this may be a common issue, and I have not seen it yet, so I did want to mention that as well. If you ever have one of these units with a leak from the axle seal, it's probably due to a worn bushing. Okay, and that is about it for this one. Thank you guys so much, and have a great day, and we will see you next one.